Hey everyone, I'm Aaron.
Hey, I'm Rob, and this is kind of a special bulletin from us. We're going to call this
Special bulletin. Beep beep beep
special
beep
bulletin.
beep 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 beep
That's
beep.
the exact sound that was going through my brain. Thank you for filling that in.
You're welcome.
This is not a full episode, but this is on YouTube, and we'll probably have some shorts out there on the other socials. Today, we are just talking through, this is going to be an epilogue for us to our season 2, where we discussed Kindred the Embraced.
Yes.
Yeah. What we're looking at here is called Daedalus's Last Will and Testament. And this item, I'm not even sure what to call it, it's about a 10-minute video. This was a special feature that came out on a special edition set. I don't know if it was DVD or Blu-ray, honestly, but it came out in 2013. And this was a special piece that they filmed and included on that set, which I thought was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, this was really neat.
I remember being really surprised. I was flipping through YouTube and this popped up and I recommended, and I was like, what is this? Like, this doesn't look like a scene from the show. And Jeff Corbin looked older, even in the makeup. And I was like, what is this? So I sent it out to Rob and I was like, did you know this was a thing? Yeah. We had no idea.
It's pretty cool. So the premise of this thing is that it is a video will and testament that Daedalus is filming right before he dies. He knows he's about to die, and he tells us why here in this video, but he films this and he leaves it. So that's the whole premise. The whole video is just showing him sitting in a chair talking to the camera. And we learn some really interesting vampire lore, Vampire the Masquerade lore, I believe. And we get a couple little tie-ins to the TV series, and we get an update on a couple of characters from the TV series. My main complaint about this was that we didn't get updates on every character from the TV series.
Oh, I know.
I mean, and logically, like, why would Daedalus talk about, Cash, the Bruja, or the Gangrel? Why would he talk about Cash? Why would he talk about Sasha? Maybe I could see how he could maybe talk about Sasha. He talks about Julian. Why not Sasha? Or Lily. He lives in her basement. Could he not say, Lily is still upstairs. She doesn't know this is happening either. Nothing.
She doesn't know that I still live in her basement.
Right. Yeah. So we learned some things on here, and I just kind of want to talk about some of the things that we learned just in the order that they kind of present them. And we're not going to belabor this. I mean, we've already said we thought this was cool. We're going to leave it at that. This is pretty neat. It's definitely worth a watch. If you've watched the show, you should watch this. It's on YouTube. You don't have to buy the special edition set. The first thing we learn is that Deadsy was a human in 1620. So, I'm sorry. The first thing we find, it says 17 years later, this fragment of Daedalus's last will and testament has been found.
Yeah, it's kind of like a found footage thing, right? It's all like VHS tapey and the scan lines. And
so we don't know the exact when this happened. We just know that it was found 17 years after the show ended, which would have been 2013. So it happened sometime pretty close to there, I'm assuming. So after that, we learned that Deadsy was a human in 1620, which is, almost 400 years ago. Pretty interesting. He tells us that the time of Gehenna, I should have written pronunciation around it. That's how I would pronounce it, but I feel like his was a little different. We're going to call it Gehenna. The time of Gehenna is here, and the Methuselah has awakened, and he's coming for Deadsy. That's what's trying to break into his haven and kill him.
Yeah. And you can hear this thing in the background, like growling the whole time. It's really cool. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. Sometimes everything shakes a little bit.
Yep.
This will is meant for Abel. He says he's like a son to Deadsy. You remember Abel?
He was the kid.
Yeah.
He was the kid that was being fed on by the crazy doctor, the Ventru doctor.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Well, one of the kids.
Of the kids, right. He's the one that was dying, and Deadsy let him drink a drop of his blood.
Yep.
And it cured him. And he still knows him. They're still together, which I thought was a really cool tie-in. Again, my only complaint was that Abel becomes basically the second main character here. And I'd rather it was someone that I actually know and cared more about myself. I know Deadsy really loved this kid, but I wish that I had more of a connection to him as well. Right. This would mean a lot more to me that way.
Yeah, he was just one part of an episode. So, and we didn't hear anything about him ever again.
No. Deadsy also tells us that he has a skull that the Methuselah wants, and he shows it to us. And it's basically a human skull with vampire teeth. It's a vampire skull. Right. And he says that its power has awakened him. It was discovered recently in Syria, and it's a 70,000-year-old vampire skull.
Yeah, it's like one of the first vampires or something is how I took it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Like the original.
He does tell us that the vampires have been feeding on humans since the time of Cain. And I did do a minor amount of research on this show. Ironically, most of it was after we finished watching the show. But I believe, according to their mythology, that Cain was like the first vampire. And then the clans, I might be messing this up, but I believe to have a clan, you have to have a direct lineage to someone that was not necessarily directly embraced by Cain, but by someone embraced by Cain. So like one generation removed from Cain, one vampire generation removed from Cain. So if you were a person that was embraced by someone who was embraced by Cain, then you could have your own clan. There's a lot more clans out there. We only know of the 5, maybe a couple others if we count those Assamites. But there's a bunch of but there's a bunch of clans out there that you just have to be able to trace your lineage back to there to have a clan. That's what I remember. That's from the game, I believe.
Yeah. Okay.
So he says also that they need to find a new prince to save the kindred, which made me sad as soon as I heard it.
I know. Yeah.
And Deadsy takes his time to remember the prince that he loved, Julian Luna. And he said, he has, let's see what my notes say, who died the last time the Ancient One awoke. So in these 17 years, I don't think this is the first time that the Methuselah has awoken. He's awoken once before, and sounds like Julian sacrificed himself the last time to save his people. And now Deadsy is about to do the same thing. But since Julian died, the kindred have been infighting, and there's no peace. And Deadsy wants Abel to take his rightful place and to become the new prince. We do learn that Abel did live after drinking Deadsy's blood. We knew that. And that he then at some other point came and asked to be embraced. And Julian embraced him because Abel is a Ventrue.
I missed that part.
Yeah. Abel's a Ventrue. I think he even says you went to Julian and asked to be embraced.
Okay.
Let's see. Deadsy tells us that he's about to reach Golconda, which is the transcendence of the living and the dead. So maybe that's like a state of heaven, nirvana, something along these lines for him, because technically he's dead. He's undead, right? The vampires are undead, which I saw as the distinction there. Or maybe it's just final death. Maybe he's eager to just go to a final death and not, be dead finally. Only about one other thing in here. He says, my arms will always be around you, he tells Abel, which made me remember when Archon died. You remember when Archon died and Julian was looking into the fire and Archon started talking to him from beyond?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wonder if
Deadsy can still do that.
Deadsy can still be with Abel, still hold him, communicate with him, something. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting.
It was pretty cool.
Is it really Golconda? Is he gone, or is he still? Is Golconda where you can talk back to the living?
Yeah, or to other embraced, at least.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Through a connection.
Right. I guess they're not living. They're just not quite dead.
Yeah. I might have to look into some of the lore of this game.
Yeah,
it does sound kind of cool.
It is pretty interesting. It really is. Then we hear something break into the room. The camera falls over on its side and then turns off. And that's the end of our little special extra feature that we got to see.
It was pretty cool.
I thought it was really cool.
I only watched it once or twice, and it's been a hot minute.
Yeah.
But I thought it was pretty fun.
It was really neat. I wish we got something like this towards the beginning of the show that kind of expounded on some of the lore that would have helped it make a lot more sense. Because a lot of our questions, I think, were around the lore that they have. And obviously, some of it's different from the movie and the game, or the TV series and the game. It kind of has to be. But tell us what it's going to be for the show. Tell us.
Right.
Give us an overview. Put it in the credits and tell us this is, humans can be embraced by vampires. They be called kindred. This is what they can do. Just give us that. And
that was one of our biggest issues with the show is we never got enough lore. So we never understood, like, they were never feeding on humans. We heard them talk about it, and we saw them murdering humans, but they weren't ever just feeding to survive. I was like, I don't understand what we're doing here.
Yeah.
So
every time we got into an episode where they did give us more lore and background, we loved those parts.
Oh, it's so good.
We were like, oh yes, I love for this episode that like brought it up for me. Like that's the way it always was.
Right.
So this whole thing, like there's no story here. It's just lore and some history and a couple updates on a couple characters. One very major character and one very minor character.
Yeah.
But still, I loved it. But I don't know. Do you have any thoughts about what happened with any of our other characters post episode 7?
I don't know. I would like to think that Sasha took over the Brujah at some point.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I'm definitely.
Yeah, we had that as a theory, and then they brought in that rando all of a sudden to take over. And it's like, who's this guy?
Yeah, he didn't last long, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure Sasha took over, but I think that's right. And I really do want Sasha and Cash to get together. I think that's probably why she took over in my head. Why she took over the Brujah clan.
To try to make peace.
Yeah, so she can just say, look, I'm the leader, Cash is the leader, deal with it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just the way it's going to be.
If we can make peace with each other, you should all be able to make peace with each other. However,
Right.
if the kindred have been at war since Julian died,
that doesn't happen.
That may not jive. But, other things can happen. Other things can happen.
Sure.
So, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I think that's about what I think about it. I don't think I think about the Nosferatu very much. I feel like they just want to be kind of left alone.
They're just there.
Not.
Yeah, they're background.
Yeah, living in the dark.
They're always there, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lily, do you ever have any thoughts about Lily? Whatever happened to her?
Not really. I mean, she's probably still running her club and doing music and stuff.
Right.
I mean, that's just, they seem like the very chill artist, colony type clan. Like,
yeah, she was a pretty major character in the show. Haven't given her another thought, honestly.
No.
What about Julian and Caitlin? Do you think they got together? Those crazy kids.
He probably embraced her at some point.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think she want to be?
I don't know. I don't think she's going to have a choice.
He wouldn't have done it
happen
unless she wanted to be. Although maybe he was backed into a corner where he had to kill her or embrace her.
Right. Like they hinted at it so much in the show that I would think that at some point she would be embraced.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't do it shady and just like a random Brujah would embrace her. I think it would have to be Julian.
Right. Like they did with Sasha.
Right.
I'm still mad about that.
Yeah. Oh no, that sucked.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, those are our updates on the characters. Who knows how they align with their future of the show, but I like those updates. I think they're pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, this was just a very neat little interesting piece. This is the epilogue to our season 2. And I hope you go check it out. If you watch the show, you should definitely watch this special feature.
Yeah, for sure. Do it. Yeah.
All right.
It's worth it.
Well, make sure you check out our next season, season 3. We're watching the TV show Time Cop. And it's pretty interesting so far. We have a lot of thoughts on time travel, a lot of issues with time travel.
Yeah. This show's full of paradoxes so far.
Yeah. We're 2 episodes in. So, yeah. Check it out. I hope you stick with us and come back for our next season. So thanks for listening, everyone. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.